Yeah, everyone, thank you so much, Jake. Thanks for all the work you do. We got a couple more minutes before the call goes live, so we're going to spend some time building up the call. Like Jake said, go ahead and put your questions in the chat. We'll try and get to some of those, and we're going to go ahead and get started here in just a couple minutes. Please, if you have any questions for our speakers, you can also put them in the Zoom Q&A section. If you're watching on Facebook, drop your question in the chat there as well. If you're calling in, press *3 and an operator will take down your question as well. What I'm going to do here is take a couple minutes, like I said, to let people join the call and let people get ready to get started. This is going to be an awesome event. We have a bunch of really awesome activists, people who are doing really hard work to transform the party and inside and out. Keep on, get excited for this event. Like I said, come up with some great questions. We're gonna have a great conversation today, and let me kick it back over to Jake to go ahead and talk a little bit more about what we're doing.
Thanks, Timothy. Sorry, I was muted. We're going to have a wonderful program today talking about the Troublemakers Slate and taking over the Democratic Party in California. And we should also talk about a little bit about Nevada too, if we have a little time. So we're going to go ahead and get started right now. For those of you just joining, if you have any questions for our speakers, please put them in the Zoom Q&A section. If you're watching on Facebook, drop them in the chat. And if you're calling in, press *3 and an operator will take down your questions. Let's go ahead and get started with this call. Timothy?
Awesome. Once again, welcome to tonight's call. Thank you so much, Jake. Thank you for all the work you do. Our revolution was started by Bernie Sanders almost 5 years ago, and we have helped build a movement to build progressive power across the country, and especially in California. Today's call is an example of the work we have done over the last half decade. And we have a 5-point plan to win. Our revolution wants to, 1, organize progressive powerhouses, 2, hold politicians accountable, 3, fight for progressive policies, 4, elect progressive champions, and 5, build a progressive party. That's our revolution's 5-point plan, and we're committed to following through and carrying it out. At our revolution, we are constantly working to create the pressure necessary to make the Democratic Party actually live up to their own stated progressive values. Our work paid off in a big way last month when we helped progressives take over the Nevada State Democratic Party by sweeping all 5 leadership positions in the state party's elections. Now our revolution is trying to do that work in California and really replicate what those awesome activists did in Nevada. And our revolution kicked off our 2021 membership drive last month. Become a movement builder with our revolution. You can support our movement as a sustaining member for as little as $5 or more a month. And you can sign up at the link in the chat, or you can go to rrev.us/CAMEM. It's going to be in the chat. And just looking forward to continuing the work and introducing some really awesome guests today, speakers from running for leadership of the Progressive Caucus. I also wanted to raise awareness about our revolution, California. We have built an organizing committee to really continue the work and to get boots on the ground to do what we need to do to continue the movement. So we're going to be talking more about that committee and how we're looking to recruit members to join and help us continue the work. Now, another really important thing today is the California Democratic Party's Progressive Caucus. We're trying to get as many our revolution supporters to join that caucus as possible. The Progressive Caucus is one of the few caucuses in the party that is actually pushing the envelope and speaking truth to power and speaking out about some of the things that aren't going the way they should be in the party. There's an election coming up on May 1st for the California Democratic Party's Progressive Caucus. We're going to talk a lot more about that in the rest of this call. And now I'd like to go ahead and kick it off and get started. First up for our awesome panel is Amar Shergill. And Amar, go ahead and introduce yourself and tell us about the Progressive Caucus and what we're building together.
Hey everybody, it's good to be with you this morning. People say that if you want to get in trouble, show up at a bar at closing time. But son of a gun, if you want to get in trouble in a Saturday morning, 11 o'clock with Our Revolution, it's a place to be. Because I look around the screen and the people that are attending, and it's just folks that want to get into trouble. And that's what the Progressive Caucus is all about, right? We call it the Troublemakers Slate and the Troublemakers Caucus because it's the one place in the party where we hold space, we hold accountable the leaders of the party, the elected officials. We don't care what power base they have. We don't care how much they're getting in money from horrible black sources across the country and across the state. We tell the truth about the progressive movement, the values we hold dear, and what has to be done in the party in order to get the movement forward. And we're talking about the real lives of people, what helps people, what decreases human suffering. And it's not enough that folks say, hey, I'm progressive and I once voted for Bernie. That's just not enough. What we need in leadership in the caucus is folks that say, I'm progressive and I'm going to vote my values, and I'm going to organize other people to vote their values inside the party, so we block endorsements. So we prevent people from getting to the next step when they've showed that they're just not worth the time. And I'm so pleased to be with this great group of 12 folks who are doing the same thing. Tim, did I go too long? I mean, I just get worked up when you ask me what the caucus is about.
Absolutely. No, you're good. You definitely touched good base on that, and I appreciate the comments. I'll go ahead and actually move on to our next panelist. Actually, I think we wanted to ask you another question here while we're on it. Can you just tell us exactly what the Progressive Caucus is in general for our supporters?
Yeah, let's talk about that a little bit. So when we talk about the state party, it's made up of delegates, and you can be in an officer position of the entire party, or you can be on one of the committees like rules and finance and stuff like that. But there's also places where we do the real organizing work. And, we call those caucuses. So there's an African-American caucus, an environmental caucus, but the Progressive Caucus is a place that's open for anyone. You don't have to be a delegate. You don't have to be registered to vote as a Democrat. You can be undocumented. You can be green card. And we organize within the party, and we have an official role within the party to ensure our voice is heard.
Awesome. And how is Our Revolution and the Progressive Caucus working to reform the party? What can we do more as Our Revolution to help the Progressive Caucus work to reform the party?
Sure. I cannot say enough about the partnership between Our Revolution and the Progressive Caucus and the progressive movement. You look back a few months ago when we were looking at who might be appointed to be the next senator for California, there were some real train wrecks that could have been appointed. And as Our Revolution and myself and others in California that built the network to pressure Gavin Newsom and say, look, if you don't get a progressive, if you don't get somebody that's committed to killing the filibuster, to expand SCOTUS, Green New Deal, and all the other things we care about, that's the end of your political future in California. The folks that won the state for Bernie will end your career. And that kind of pressure, that kind of organizing, whether it's electing delegates or building the bench, is what Our Revolution is great at, and what I really appreciate about our partnership.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Amar. And how can folks get involved in the Progressive Caucus, and how can people get more involved?
All right. So first of all, in the link, you see that Brandon dropped a link. It says, here come the troublemakers. We have elections coming up. That's what we're here about today. We need to elect folks in the caucus to lead that caucus, and we need you to show up this weekend and vote. And the first step is to click that link, get your name in the form so you can get a ballot. We'll follow up on how to vote later in the week, but we need you to fill out that form. If you're not filling out that form, you're saying, whatever, the caucus can just be taken over. The caucus can represent whatever it wants, but that's not what we're about. We need this entire team to show up. And in order to get that done, we need you to vote. Please fill out that form.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Amar. And appreciate the words. We're going to go ahead and introduce your slate. We're going to go ahead and introduce the parliamentarian running for parliamentarian. We have Emma Jensen. And we're going to go ahead and introduce Emma Jensen. Go ahead and introduce yourself and let us know why you're running.
Oh, I have to talk now. I'm Emma Jensen, otherwise known as Marco Tenenbaum on Facebook, pronouns she, they, all that jazz. I'm actually currently serving as the parliamentarian. So I'm running for re-election, and I am the election gods have blessed me with an unopposed race. So I am here predominantly to pump up, to stand in solidarity with, to represent my comrades who are running in competitive races: Zach Denny, Amr Shergill, Ben Hauk, Fatima Iqbal-Zubair, Katie Chan, all these amazing badass troublemakers. I think that's my 2 minutes, right?
Yes, thank you so much, Emma. Yes, the individuals running on the Troublemakers Slate is Emma Jensen. We also have Zach Denny running for membership officer. And we have Regina Banks running for treasurer. And we're going to hear words from all the members here today. We have Pamela Schwartz running for Northern California vice chair. And we have Fatima running for chair. No. Fatima is running for
Southern California vice chair.
Southern California vice chair. Excuse me. Thank you, Jake. And yes, I'll go ahead and actually let our next troublemaker up to bat to speak. And I'd like to introduce Zach Denny. Go ahead and introduce yourself and tell us why you're running. I think you're muted.
Zach, you're still muted.
Can you hear me now?
Yep, great.
Okay. Hi, everyone. Good morning from Stockton. Can you see me? I'm not.
Hey, go ahead, Zach.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, yeah. Okay, because I wasn't seeing in the corner. So I'm Zach Denny. I'm running for membership officer of the Progressive Caucus. This is a new position on the caucus board, and I'm hoping that if elected to this position, we can use it to build up our membership, but also build up our power as progressives within the California Democratic Party. Because ultimately, the only way we are going to change this party, bring it into a more representative, more small d democratic space, is by building people power and educating and bringing everyday people into the party.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Zach. And I also like to introduce Regina Banks running for treasurer. Regina, go ahead and introduce yourself and tell us why you're running.
Hi, everybody. My name is Regina Banks, she, her. I am a proud resident of unincorporated South Sacramento County. I, too, have gotten a blessing from the election gods that I'm running unopposed. So I'm here in support of the entire slate. And I am just looking forward to being a good caretaker and a good watch person for the money, both in the caucus, but definitely in the party. And I am looking forward to having a lot of conversations about what it means to be in an unincorporated area versus being in the protection of or under the oversight of a city. So looking forward to having all of these conversations and so much more with everyone on the slate. Please help me get everyone over the line, fill out the form.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Regina. Appreciate you running. And up next, we have Pamela Schwartz running for Northern California Vice Chair. Pamela?
Hi, everybody. Good morning. And thank you all for showing up. It's super cool to see everybody's faces. I am Pamela Schwartz. I live in Nevada City in the northern part of our state, where it's very red and very rural. And I get to represent a gigantic portion of our state, which I wanted to say is the watershed of California. And without good water collection and healthy forests, we do not have an economy in the state of California. Our district is suffering from high poverty, homelessness, opioid epidemics, all that kind of thing. So as a progressive, our policies answer all of the issues that we have here in our North State. And I'm looking very forward to participating in today's forum and then moving forward for the next couple of years and really pushing the CDP to the left, because we have been forgotten here in our North State. I just ran for State Senate District 1, and it was like pulling teeth to get the CDP to even see that we were up here. So I'm super stoked to be running with these group of troublemakers. I, too, am unopposed, and I feel lucky about that, but also I'm like, hey, wait a second, who's up here to help me out? So I just want to say thanks again, and looking forward to today and the future. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Pamela. And next up, go ahead and Fatima, introduce yourself. Let us know why you're running.
Okay. Can you all hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I'm going to take this off. Okay. Sorry for I was trying to get better audio, but this hopefully should be okay. Yeah. So my name is Fatima Iqbal Zubair. I'm going to start and end with the same thing. There's 2 positions open for this. So it's me and Ben Hauk, and we are #DoubleTrouble. So if someone can put that hashtag in the chat, I always say that so you don't forget. So vote for both of us, please. So I'm a public school teacher from Watts. I'm an immigrant. I'm a mother to a son with special needs. All those things are very important to my identity. I'm also on the executive board of the Democratic Party, newly elected in District 64, proud member of this district in South Central LA. And our whole slate won. So I think this speaks the power of groups like Our Revolution and progressive groups, because our whole slate unseated all the incumbents. And so really glad to have activists representing as delegates for our district. I'm also running for state assembly. So, there are communities like mine all over the state, urban communities that have been ignored. And so my district is one of those. And so I'm really there to, represent the working class urban communities all over our state, we're frankly kept from having our most basic human rights, from everything to having access to clean drinking water, to food deserts, to being evicted at higher rates, to having low quality public schools. So I'm running to change the Democratic Party from within to make sure it works for every single one of us. I'm here to bring my neighbor to the table. I'm here to bring those that don't speak English as a first language to the table. I'm here to bring those with special needs to the table. It's time that we mobilize and organize the working class so they have a seat at the table, and bring those marginalized voices to the party. And I want you to support our whole slate, because as you can hear from the beautiful experiences we all have, we're all from really unique places that have frankly been unheard in these party structures. And so that's why we're all here. Again, vote for me and Ben Hauk for Southern California White Share. We are #DoubleTrouble. And please do support our entire slate. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Fatima. I am really excited to move on with the rest of this event. And I have a few quick questions to ask our panel. First question I'd love to ask is, how is the Democratic Party failing to live up to its platform?
Gosh, that's such a big question. But I mean, take a look at, what's happened just recently. I mean, the party says that it believes in a Green New Deal, a climate future, the future habitability of our planet, and then we can't get basic bills passed on Medicare for all, California's version, which is CalCare, AB 1400. We have Ash Culver, who's leading the way, and now he's for a number of months this year has been playing nice guy on AB 1400, and now we're retrenching. We're coming back in the next legislative session. And I think it's up to stop playing nice guy and to really do the hardcore organizing work to get this bill passed, community to community, neighborhood to neighborhood. What we do best at Our Revolution, why we won the state for Bernie, which is talking to our neighbors and getting them to vote and pressure their legislators. And I appreciate the heck out of all the work Our Revolution has done over the years, supporting grassroots tasks just like that. And if you've seen me in the chat already, please, fill out our form. Yes. Get a ballot. Yes. It costs no money at all. So with that little bit of money you save, kick some over to Our Revolution, because they've been so supportive to us in many ways, and we want them to continue that hard work. Thanks.
Awesome, Amar. Thank you so much. And next up topic that we're going to shoot out there is Senate Bill 467, ban on fracking. Fatima, why don't you tell us a little bit about the Senate Bill 467?
Yeah, so this was like a really overarching bill that had, a buffer zone in it. It had a just transition and things like that. unfortunately, I just want to expand on what, Amr said. It wasn't Republicans, right? Because in California, we don't have that issue. We have a supermajority of Democrats. It was 3 Democrats, that failed, why this bill failed in committee. So I just want to point that out, which is why it's so important to support us, support our revolution, support organizations that are really trying to get the right voices up there. So now the bill is watered down, but it's still something really consequential if it can pass. It's a chance to establish a buffer zone, a 2,500-foot buffer zone between, neighborhood drilling and where folks live, work, and worship and pray. And, we're just near people, right? So it's about this buffer zone. And I just want to point out, California is always painted this beacon of progressiveness. It's not in many cases because, red states have a buffer zone, like Texas has a buffer zone. We still haven't been able to pass this. And so I really, really want folks to support this. I'm going to put some phone numbers in the chat. There are really 3 senators that we need to vote yes on. There's one senator, Senator Eggman, who did vote yes on a similar bill. So she's the one we're really targeting to really get this through. So I'll put their phone numbers in the chat. And again, please support these 2,500 setbacks for frontline communities, for marginalized communities, for our public health. So thank you.
Thank you, Fatima. And Pamela, tell us about what's going on with the ban on corporate money and campaign finance reform.
Hi again. AB 20 is a fantastic bill. Just going off what Fatima just said about how California is supposed to be so progressive, and same with what Amr said about we're so progressive, but yet we're not. This is a classic example. AB 20 is the Corporate Free Elections Act, and the idea is to ban all corporate money funding, financial funding for any elected officer and also candidate in California. 22 other states already have this ban, you guys. California doesn't. It was, of course, brought forward by Assembly members Lee and Culver, our favorite progressive folks. And just as an example, over $785 million was spent in 2020 over that. And that was just in corporate money coming into the state of California. We've got to end this. It's corrupting our democracy. It's creating a greater inequality and injustice in our entire democracy because people who are rich and corporations that have that kind of money, they're getting an extra, they get an extra say in our supposed representative democracy. So I think it's really important that we push this through and that we let our lawmakers know. It's slated to be in the Assembly Elections Committee hearing on this Thursday. So if you want to just kind of keep your ears out for that. And what I'll do is I'll put a link in. There's a group called moneyoutvotersin.org that's really, that has a petition going, and they're going to be presenting this to the legislators on that day. So I think it's really important that we continue to fight for ending corruption in California. So I'll put that in there right now. Thank you, guys.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Pamela. And Emma Jensen, you had a few words.
Oh, that's just at the end before we move on to question 2. But I do want to just really quick, make a point that we're starting to get some preliminary results in from the party officer races. And I think a really important thing to remember, especially with the Progressive Caucus in general, but caucuses as a whole, I'm not a delegate. Ben's not a delegate. Caucuses, in particular the Progressive Caucus, is our place to take up space in a party that doesn't want us there. I think it's important to remember that, and then when you forget it, remember it again. Because, we see why we're needed. And, being brave and doing the thing that is hard to do when it is going to cost you politically to do it, that's what we're all about. That is what this is all about. Like, that's why we're all here, is because given the opportunity to do the right thing and pay for it, we're like, yep, send me in. I'm going to do the right thing and I'm going to pay for it. And that's why this caucus is here, is so that those people who continue to pay for it politically by not getting their delegate seats, not getting their appointments, that we continue to have a voice in the party and say, yeah, we did the right thing and we're still here and you still have to listen to us. So that's my little plug for caucuses in general.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Emma. And moving on, one of my favorite activists out of Los Angeles, public bank activist, Mr. Ben Hawk. Welcome, Ben, and introduce yourself and tell us about Public Bank.
Hi, folks. Thank you so much for having us. Once again, just wanted to say thank you for the time and the space to talk. Looking forward to running with the Troublemakers and alongside Fatima for the Southern California Vice Chair, Double Trouble. So right now what we have is a really important bill called AB 1177. And right now, it would be shocking for most people to know that 1 out of every 4 Californians is either unbanked or underbanked. And people who do not have access to banking services are being preyed on by the payday lenders and by the Wall Street banks. A recent report just came out that said that over $3 billion in profits went to these banks on overdraft fees alone. So during a pandemic, during a crisis, we have the banks extracting money from everyday working families. It's an absolutely horrific situation. So what AB 1177 is going to do is it is going to provide free banking services, ATM services to every single Californian. It's a really incredible bill that is going to end some of these predatory practices that are occurring, that is going to create economic justice for our state. And it's really important that we create and pass this bill. As a lot of people know, we passed AB 857 2 years back. That was a historic bill to create public banking and allow our cities to create public banks that are owned by the people and not by the corporations. We actually ran into a huge brick wall with AB 310 to create a statewide bank, which just shows why it's so critical that that we have groups like Our Revolution, that we have groups like the Progressive Caucus fighting for change, because we're getting stonewalled not by Republicans, but by Democrats. Democrats are the ones who killed AB 310 for public banking. So it's really critical and important that we have all of us fighting together to pass AB 1177 to pass public banking for individuals to create the solution for those who are currently unbanked and underbanked. So thank you all for the support, and let's fight together for AB 1177.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Ben. And next up, I'd like to ask the panel a question and kind of touch a little bit on it, but just how can the Progressive Caucus be more of a vessel for change in our party? Oh, actually, let me skip back. Forgive me. Before we move to that, I'd like to ask Zach Denny, tell us about social housing, the social housing measure, AB 387.
So AB 387, the Social Housing Act of 2021, would essentially do what other countries around the world do in ensuring that housing is a human right, where private developers and commoditized housing is not meeting the needs of Californians. We, the people, through the state, would take up the fight in building social housing for Californians. It goes without saying that housing is a very crucial issue in this state. We are in a housing crisis. We are in a crisis of homelessness. Yet California is the 5th largest economy in the world. We have extreme wealth here. And it's just unacceptable that the commoditization of housing, like what we see in education and healthcare, is preventing every person in this state from having a shelter, from having housing as a right. So what this bill would do is it proposes a council on social housing. It would present a report by 2024. And I know that some people might have thoughts on that. Obviously we know what the issue is, a lack of housing. And really, this isn't something that is completely foreign to the state or even the United States itself. It did at one point place an emphasis in our budgets on housing, but since the 1980s, we have just completely dropped the ball. So AB 387 would ensure that we are doing everything that we can as the state to make up for what private developers and commoditized housing is not meeting for each and every one of us. And that is housing as a human right.
Hey, Tim, can I jump in here for a minute?
Absolutely.
Thank you. So I wanted to I saw something in the chat. I want to make something clear. On AB 1400, which is CalCare, single payer universal health care for California. When we wanted to introduce this bill this year, we had problems finding a sponsor, finding somebody to introduce it, because there's so much opposition. Whoever leads the way takes a lot of hits. And we should just thank the heck out of Assemblymember Ash Kalra for leading the way, working with CNA, working with Our Revolution, and doing the things that other folks won't. And he has done his due diligence, tried behind the scenes to be nice about it and build a coalition and talk to the folks that should be supporting that bill, that say they support this issue. And we haven't been able to get it done. And so now he is, reworking it, going to bring it back. And then it's up to us to do the organizing work. But I want to make clear that just because the bill has a setback, that is not something we put on Ash Kalra. He is doing the work, and find him on Twitter and thank him, because he needs our support. So I just want to make sure that was clear. Thank you.
Thank you, Amar, for cleaning that up. A lot of people get frustrated when things don't move, but there's definitely some internal things that are going on that it's good to know about, so we have a more clear understanding about why things are happening. And Regina Banks, if you could, I'd love it if you can touch a little bit on SB 271. Tell us about SB 271, new requirements for sheriffs.
Thank you so much, everybody. Like I said in my introduction, I live in unincorporated South Sacramento County. So before I tell you about this bill, I want for you to understand what it means to me personally. So after this week, after this year, what I want to say to you is, as a Black woman, as a Californian, as a citizen who's paying for the services that are around her, when I look at a sheriff, I am looking at the person who either will or won't testify against the police officer that shoots me or one of my family members in cold blood, or kneels on their neck, or in some other way murders me in the street. That is who the sheriff is to me. So it is incredibly personal. SB 261 is a bill that would remove the requirement that person need to have a post certificate. So right now, the person that would be the sheriff of Sacramento County has to have an advanced post certificate. That means that I, having 2 bachelor's degrees, a Juris Doctorate, having worked in advocacy for 14 years, can't be sheriff, but somebody with post certification who has none of those qualifications can be sheriff. And it is a gatekeeping situation. That is a place where if we say it's about the training, if we say it's about the leadership, then let us have access to the training and the leadership. Great. That bill is being sponsored by Senator Wiener. And like we just said, just because a bill is failing doesn't necessarily mean that the person that's carrying it is the one that's failing. Let Senator Wiener know that we are supporting him in this bill. Let him know not to drop it. He is on our side. Support him and let him know. There are other co-sponsors to that. And being in Sacramento, I really want to thank Assemblymember McCarty for standing willing on this bill. It's incredibly important to me. So we talk about how the party is failing. The party can definitely have the support of those who are taking flack for us and those that are making decisions about our real lives here, my real life.
Thank you so much, Regina. I appreciate that. That's really important. And I'll move to Emma Jensen to wrap up this portion of the event and tell us a little bit more about discussing party leadership.
I kind of mentioned this before, but just to reiterate, we're getting preliminary results into the party officer races, and once again, we have Rusty Hicks taking the lead, helming up this party, and we've shown time and time again. He's shown time and time again that it's not about us; it's about him, and it's not about him. It's about the people that line the wallets of the state legislature, and having people in the assembly is all well and good. Everyone can say they're progressive, and I said this before, and I'll say it till the day I die. Establishment is not an ideology; it's a methodology. It's a way of functioning in politics. So you can be and say all the right things, but if the way that you politic is transactional, if the way that you politic is I'll scratch your back, you scratch mine, I did this favor for you, so you do this favor for me, then you're establishment and you're a member of the establishment, and it doesn't matter what you say or do, because if you don't stand up for what's right, the question, what are you willing to lose your job for? I know what I'm willing to lose my job for, making the world safer and healthier and saving it. So I don't think Rusty's willing to lose his job for anything. So yeah, that's that.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Emma. You guys are awesome. I'm going to go ahead and move over to Karen Stevens to go ahead and lead our Q&A with some of our guests here today. Go ahead, Karen.
It helps to get the sound on. Thanks, Timothy. Hello, everybody. I'm just going to go over a couple questions we have there. And also, we've got Kathy Willett covering if there's any questions on the other platforms. But first up, from Joel, has our revolution taken a position in the governor's recall? If so, what is it? Anybody from National want to answer?
Karen, I can just real quick. I don't know if National has made an official position, but I know that Bernie Sanders and my chapter, the San Francisco Berniecrats, are both opposed to the recall. I think it's a good reminder. Oh, and this is Brandon Harami. Hello, folks. I'm also on the slate, but no one's running against me. So, so I've been helping back. You've seen me probably in the chat. I'm running as the Bay Area vice chair. But I will say that just a reminder that when Arnold Schwarzenegger kind of snuck his way into the governor's office during the Gray Davis recall, Governor Schwarzenegger vetoed single-payer healthcare when it made it to his desk. We passed it. The state legislature had passed single-payer, and that died when it made it to his desk because he killed it. He also killed marriage equality. Just reminders that it's risky to get a Republican into our seat, to the governor's seat. The only way they can do that is through these recall efforts, and it really isn't worth the risk. We can challenge Newsom next year during the primary if we really want to run a progressive against him, and I am very open to that. But I think right now we need to remind him that he needs us to vote for him, and that he should embrace progressive positions. And his ban on fracking, the move he did yesterday, was a good first step in that direction.
Okay. Danny, can I add one quick thing? So I have so many criticisms of Gavin Newsom, but the thing is, part of the single payer is that a lot of the funding, a good portion of it can be paid by this federal waiver that Newsom will request, and a Republican governor is not going to request that. So I just want to say, as much as we can criticize him, we do need that waiver, that federal waiver to get some of the funding for single payer. So that's another push to really oppose the recall.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. On to the next question. And also, anybody attending, if you have any question of the panelists regarding the run for the Progressive Caucus, please post them in the Q&A button down below, and we'll get to that. Next question is from Diana. Regina, please clarify post-certification certificate. It's not entirely clear what that is. Thanks. I'm not even understanding really. I guess it was something related to what Regina was presenting on one of the bills.
If Regina's not there, I can speak to it. Are you there, Regina?
Go, Rico.
Okay, so my name's Rico Franco. I'm also running for communications officer. I come from Fresno. I currently serve on the board and I'm running for re-election. What post-certification basically means that you have to be a graduate of the police academy. That's what is holding us back here. It means that the only way that you can become sheriff is if you are a police officer or a sheriff's deputy, which means that you are bringing people into that position of power from the group of people that have already surrounded you. So it's not like DA where you can get a progressive DA and they're like a Chesa Boudin in San Francisco, et cetera. The pool, especially for Democrats, is very, very small when you limit it to people who are already cops. That's what is so important about this bill. It'll allow somebody who is not a cop or a graduate of a police academy to take charge of law enforcement within counties, to take charge of the policies within the county jails and how they're going to work with ICE and other officials, et cetera. So post, I believe it's a police officers something training program, but it basically means you have to be a graduate of a police academy. So that's why this bill is so important in changing that.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions out there? Please post in the Q&A section. Okay, well, thank you very much. Thanks for answering that.
Okay, great.
Karen, do we have any questions in the Q&A section?
No, we just got another one from Mario. Are there any community challengers against Alex Padilla in 22? Do we know of anything bubbling up? I'm not aware of it. Did anybody else here?
Okay, no, but maybe Karen, a good question on that note is maybe how maybe some of the panelists can talk about how we can use things like the endorsement process at the party to ensure that how we can use these tools in the party to have sway over policy and positions of candidates that we're endorsing. I don't know if anyone wants to answer that question.
Excellent. Amr, you want to tackle that? Is he still on?
You're on mute.
Sorry, here's the truth, folks. I'm distracted right now because I got this text and the news is just pounding my heart in my chest. Is that we just got a text saying that the entire Troublemaker slate is endorsed by the California Nurses Association. And it's just, there's been such a great partner over the years with Our Revolution and myself and others who are doing the work on Medicare for All and CalCare. So thank you to the California Nurses Association. And now, Brandon, what's the question for me?
The question is how we as delegates and the party can use the endorsement process to push issues and to challenge candidates that are currently in office.
Yeah, this is something that is why we leaned into the delegates races and why Our Revolution leaned in also, is that what we found over the years is we had folks that were delegates that have control over who the party endorses. But when it came time to actually vote for those endorsements, they either gave into pressure, or we found out they weren't as progressive as we thought they were, or somebody leaned on them and threatened their jobs, or whatever it is. So this time around, we have way more delegates that are actually independent. And what we're pushing them to do, and it applies to that Rokana, Padilla race and others, is that we want folks to evaluate the candidates, not based on their power and their relationships, but are they progressive? So if Padilla wants to be senator, then he's got to continue to do the work. And one of the questions still out there is what kind of corporate money he's going to take. You know, he's great on Green New Deal. He's good on killing the filibuster, but there are other issues. And we need all of our delegates and activists to lean in on those endorsement fights so that if there is a grassroots challenger to Padilla or anyone else, that we identify them and endorse them instead.
Can I just add some?
Amr, could you do me a favor? Because you mentioned the word delegates several times, and I'm realizing we may have some people on this call that may not know what a delegate is. Can you give us just a brief stab at what is a delegate? What are you talking about?
Oh, you know what? Let me bring Emma Jensen to this conversation because she is like a pioneer on explaining this. Emma, I know you want to answer this question.
I do. So, and our revolution should maybe send out the image. The California Democratic Party is structured to be, as they refer to it, a three-legged stool. It's not, it's got one leg. A delegate is essentially someone who is either elected or appointed to represent a representative democracy, not unlike our Congress or our Senate-ish, where one person is casting one vote as part of a group of people that are representing assembly districts or elected officials or county committees. And each of these players have different levels of investment in the party. And I think that it's important to, when someone was saying what progressives are supporting, what progressives in office, getting assembly members in office, that whole third leg of the stool, which is basically us, it's the assembly member, it's the assembly district delegates, it's the people who are elected by the proletariat, so to speak. This is the Bernie model. If they have all of their constituents banging down their doors and saying, hey, this is something that we want, this is something that we need, it doesn't matter how much money someone pumps into their campaign account, because we're going to vote them out. So, delegate.
Well, what I was hoping to get out of that, and just wanted to say real quick, if you're unfamiliar with an assembly district delegate is, every 2 years there are elections, and they're run in odd number years. Like we just had one, right? Or wait, even? No, it's odd. The beginning of odd number years, you get you run for election in your community, and that's how you become a delegate, and that's how you get a voice in the Democratic Party, and you become one of the legs, as Emma was just referring to. Okay. Anyway, let's get back to any questions. Which progressives are devoting their time and energy to get us universal basic income? I'm not sure what you mean by progressives, if that's elected officials or delegates or activists. Anybody want to take a stab out of that? It looks like Jacob has quite a few wanting to know about progressives. Jacob, can you post, what are you talking about, activists or elected officials?
Zach, did you want to touch on that?
I'm sorry, can you repeat the question?
Okay. Jacob has got a bunch of questions in Q&A, and he's referring to which progressives are devoting their time and energy to get us universal basic income, comprehensive Medicare for all citizens, getting us $25 an hour, which actually I don't think anybody's working on that. We're talking about 15 at this point. And devoting their time and energy to replace establishment Democrats.
Simple answer, this caucus. And this slate of leaders running for the Progressive Caucus board, progressives within the party, I would hope progressives in general. The only way that we're ever going to achieve any of those items on our progressive platform is if we change the balance of power within the party. And we can do that through the Progressive Caucus by having an established home for progressive Democrats, left-wing Democrats, to recruit everyday progressive Democrats from across the state to come into the party if they choose. I know that running for delegate, it's definitely there's a commitment to it. Trust me, I get it. I've been a delegate since 2017. But the only way that we're going to change the balance of power and move the California Democratic Party from what is essentially an elected monarchy to a mass, small d Democratic People's Party is if we have progressives within the party who are not there to go along to get along, but are there to have conversations about the hard truths about what is wrong with our party, why it does not stand up for the progressive platform that we as delegates pass every 2 years, and why our endorsed candidates are not working to implement that platform.
Okay, Ben, do you want to dovetail on that?
Yeah, absolutely. So right now, live as we're on this meeting, we're getting results back from the election in the California Democratic Party. And it looks very clear that Rusty Hicks is once again going to be the chair of the party. As a lot of people on this call may know, Rusty Hicks promised not to take fossil fuel money for the California Democratic Party. He then broke that promise. He took $330,000 from Sempra Energy, who many of you guys know is the company behind the massive disaster at the Aliso Canyon methane facility. They're the same company that is currently trying to kill solar energy in California. He took $330,000 from a fossil fuel company while our state was literally burning, while our state was on fire and people's homes are being destroyed, people's lives are being taken from the climate emergency. And this man has once again been reelected to lead our state party. So what is this election about? What is the Progressive Caucus all about? It's about people on the left having the courage, having the backbone, having the jawbone, having the wishbone, all those things that Nina Turner talks about, to stand up to power, to hold our leaders accountable, and to ensure that the left, that the outside, not only has a voice, but has power within our party. So we are asking all of you to support the Troublemakers, to support us, to have the voice, to bring your voice inside the party, to challenge people like Rusty Hicks, to challenge these corporate Democrats, to challenge the money that has dominated and taken control of our party. We can affect change in California. We can affect change in this party, but we need our voices to be uplifted. We need the voices of our frontline communities to be uplifted. We need the voices of our outside organizations to be uplifted, and we promise that we will do that. So please support the Troublemakers Slate, and we're gonna make this thing happen. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Ben. And Fatima, could we hear a few words from you?
Okay.
Yeah, just really quick. I just want to talk about the importance of community building in working class communities. There are people I've had on my slate who hated the Democratic Party and didn't even want to run, but they wanted to run. And I think there's, Ilhan Omar always says this, and it's really important. Organized people always beats organized money, right? Organized people always beats organized money. And organizing, it can cost money, but it can also be free, right? And so it's like talking to your neighbors, going door to door, right? So I just want to talk about the value of that. That is so important for rural communities, for working class communities, for unincorporated areas, is to, that's something anyone can do. And that's also important when you think of the right candidates. Who are the candidates that are the movers and the shakers? Not the ones that have been in the party, but the ones that have been doing the work behind the scenes and organizing their neighbors, right? That's the type of person we want to get to be a candidate. So I just want to talk about the importance of organized people in those marginalized communities. It's really important.
All right, we've got a couple more questions. What are the plans to upset any and all Democrats who supported Rusty?
Hey, I'll take that. That's a big question, and it's not just about Rusty Hicks, right? He is just a vessel through which the existing power structures in the legislature and the billions of dollars, sloshing around the state exercise their power in the California Democratic Party. So, let's be frank. This is a organizing task, and the Progressive Caucus, the Troublemaker Slate, we are the vehicles that provide your voice inside the party. Bring folks together from around the state to work on these tasks. We have been, establishing some, beginnings of structures outside the party to get this done. We have our own Progressive Caucus PAC, which we use to try to build the bench on some of those races that the party ignores. We use that also in electing delegates. And we also have partnered with the Progressive Delegates Network to elect hardcore delegates into the party that are going to make these tough endorsement votes. The next step on that project, the next source of delegates that are going to be on deck are from elected officials that have been elected in 2022. So we got to organize around all of those elected officials, try to get progressive folks involved. And then after that, for 2024, a really important task that's absolutely on deck and doable is central committee races. Every county in the state has a Democratic Party central committee. We have to get those our people into those seats so that the next time we have an election in the party, we can elect progressive candidates. So it is an all of the above strategy. It's a big task, but it's doable because we've shown by winning the state for Bernie, that if we put our shoulders into it, we can get it done. And that's what we have all committed to do as a slate.
Thank you so much, Omar. Let's move to Katie Chen for a few words. Katie? Chen, sorry.
Hello, everyone. My name is Katie Chen, pronouns she, her, hers. I'm running to be your CDP Progressive Caucus Secretary. It's really great that we have 58 of us here, including panelists, is 73 total. It's really great running with the Troublemaker Slate because everyone here is so motivated. Everyone believes in the capital P progressive movements and ideology. And yeah, just really great seeing everyone here. And really quick reminder to fill out the link to vote for us. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Katie. Karen?
There was a question that I thought was really good in the Q&A box, and it disappeared. And it had to do with, and I apologize if somebody covered this, the last ADEM process, we only got, and I can't remember the name of the person who asked this, but we were only able to get ballots to those to vote in the ADEM election. That's the delegates to the state party that we explained earlier. Ballots are only given to Democratic voters that specifically requested them. So the question was, how do we get ballots to all Democratic voters so folks know who to campaign to? Anybody want to take that? Is the Progressive Caucus, do you know if they've been pushing the party leadership?
Yeah, so I'm sorry, is there somebody else want to jump in? Otherwise,
I think Zach wanted to answer. Yeah.
All right, go ahead.
Sorry, Omar, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I just saw his hand.
That's good.
All right, yeah. So the question was, has the Progressive Caucus been pushing the party? Yes, we have. And I think that particularly in recent years where we have pushed, the influence of police money in the party, oil money in the party, we've, basically spoken about the hard truths about the fact that the party has not been a safe place for delegates. And we continue to bring up the fact that there have been many broken promises by party leadership to delegates, in particular when it comes to creating a safe progressive space for all delegates. And I mean, I think that's why this election for the caucus is so important because, as it's been reiterated here, we're the only space of dissent within the party. We are the only space for a progressive voice, a left-wing vision within the party. And obviously, with the noise that we've made in recent years, and there's going to be an effort to make sure that a slate of troublemakers, a slate of people who are going to have conversations about those hard truths and demand action are not in this caucus. But this caucus is supposed to be the conscience of the California Democratic Party. So, again, if we really want to continue to have that voice within our party, we need to have leadership in this caucus that is going to continue to push for accountability, ethics, and to emulate the kind of leadership that we want within this party. A mass group of people, small d democracy, for human rights, justice, and equity. And that's part of what I would like to do is membership director. I want to make sure that we are building a pipeline for everyday Democrats to get involved within the party, because that's what this party has benefited from for decades. The fact that it is not accessible. Most working everyday Democrats, could not attend party conventions or e-board meetings if they even knew they existed. And that goes down even to the central committees. We need to make sure that wherever there is a meeting in this party, there are everyday people's voices there. And that's what this slate is about. And that's what this caucus is about.
Excellent, Zach. Last question from Annie. Can people vote for Progressive Caucus officers if they've joined the caucus but not registered for convention? I've registered, but asking on behalf of others. So, yes. How do folks get to vote for you if they're not a member of the caucus? Who wants to take that?
I'll jump in. So you don't have to go to the convention in order to vote for us. The only way to vote for us, the best, easiest way, is to fill out that form. We put in the link. It'll be transmitted to the caucus. You'll become a member. You'll get an email. Then you will vote virtually. You don't have to show up there, and that's it. So the only qualifications are you have to be 16 or older and willing to register as a Dem when you're eligible, or you're already registered as a Democrat. So undocumented, green card holders, you can all vote. If you're 17 and you can't register as a Democrat yet, you can vote. All you have to say is that you are willing to register as a Democrat and you get your ballot.
Thank you so much, Amr. And I'm going to toss it back to Timothy so we can wrap up for today.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Karen. Thank you, everybody. Thank you all troublemakers for all the work you do. We're trying to get every single Our Revolution supporter on this call to go ahead and sign up for the Progressive Caucus. In between now and the 1st, we're going to be contacting everybody we know to join the caucus and vote for this awesome slate of candidates. The links have been dropped in the chat. Also, make sure you become a movement builder with Our Revolution, because we're working directly with this Progressive Caucus and these troublemakers to transform the party, make it more transparent, and to continue to work. With Bernie's presidential campaigns, we're campaigns end and revolutions endure, and we're going to keep on fighting to make sure this party works for all of us and not just the few, like Bernie says. So thank you so much, everybody, for joining us this evening. This was an amazing event, and keep up the great work that all you do. Make sure you join the Progressive Caucus. Vote for the troublemakers. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you. Bye-bye.